taking a peek at the infotainment system inside of the Mercedes AMG lineup. The screen is going to be the same for a number of Mercedes vehicles. One thing that's different is that this one has the charge capability, and that's because this is the plug-in hybrid version of the GT63 SE Performance. So if you didn't have the plug-in hybrid version of a Mercedes, the charge window wouldn't be there. But outside of that, everything else would be the exact same. So you'd have the majority of the apps that are available, but you've got the flexibility. So you saw here, you can swipe through the screen this way using your fingers if you wanted to. Along the steering wheel, the top, there's a pad there that you can use. So you could go home, you can swipe across, move up, down, and back as necessary. And then you've also got the option of using the little trackpad down the center stack. So if you wanted to, you could adjust and move through the screen as necessary. You can go back, you can go to the home screen, things like that. There are also buttons along the top here in order to move between a few other options. So nice light button press that's going to allow you to move into either park assist, drop down into the 360 side cameras, 360 view, back, front view, whatever the case may be. So you've got a few different ways that you can adjust through the screen. So you might see me touching the screen through this video, or you'll see me swiping this way, and that's just because I'm either using the steering wheel or the trackpad down below instead. It's just a little bit more convenient sometimes. So starting off on the top, you've got your home button there along the top left-hand side. You've got your current user profile. So you can select a user, you can delete data, you can sync data as well. So select user. If you've got multiple people driving the vehicle, you can add in a unique user. A benefit there, it's going to remember your navigation. So all the routes that you've connected, that you've gone to, your phones that you've connected, your radio that you've set up. So all of your presets, your apps, media, things like that. So it's essentially going to remember all of your personal preferences. So if you've got multiple people driving the vehicle, set that up. You can also lock it out as well if you wanted to. You can do a generic search through the vehicle, and that's going to search a few different ways. It'll look at everything in the vehicle, available navigation. You can search the entertainment system, internet, the operator's manual, and things like that. So if you wanted to figure out which type of oil that you need to use, you've got the flexibility to be able to search this way if you wanted to. A little bit more tedious with the trackpad, but it's doable. It'll take a second, and you can see there, it's given us the option of everything: navigation, entertainment, internet. You can look at the operator's manual there, so the owner's manual, engine oil, things like that. You've got the flexibility of checking it all out. So it's just a generic search. You've got your little favorite button there, and that's going to give you the option of doing a few things. So you can turn on massage chair seats, look at your browser, turn the display off, see if you find it too distracting, things like that. And then you can also add in some more customizable favorites, and you can select so many different things. It's actually ridiculous, but amazing at the same time. You've got your current connection level as well as the current time along the top right side. And let's go through, and we'll start with the charging side of things. So this is the plug-in hybrid version. So you can see 34% charged. It's saying 1 kilometer. It's just because I'm sitting here with the air conditioning on that it's so horrible, but as you're fully charged, it's actually not even the greatest anyways. 11 to 15-ish kilometer range, so under 10 miles of fully electric range. The hybrid version of this vehicle is meant more for performance than anything. You could select different programs as well, so home versus work versus standard, and where that comes into play is departure times. So you'd be able to do things like set up whether your first row heated seats come on. Do your second row, well, I guess heated or ventilated seats. Do you want your heated steering wheel coming on? What temperature do you want the vehicle to be in when it starts up or when it preconditions? Your second row, do you want that on? What air quality do you want? Do you want fragrance going? Pre-entry climate control. You can also edit your departure times. So if you tend to leave the same time, Monday to Friday, like let's say if you leave at 7 o'clock in the morning, okay, so we'll say 7 o'clock in the morning, you've got that flexibility. Do you do it once or do you do it weekly? You can add in new times and do it that way instead. Along the very bottom, you can select different options there as well. We go into our little settings icon. Do you want to activate when the vehicle's unlocked? Do you only want the driver's seat to come on as well too? So you've got the flexibility to really adjust this out and make it your own. So very useful if you are plugged in, and ideally you want to be charging when you use this, because when you charge and you use this setting, big benefit here is that it's going to not use any of the battery or any gas. So very useful from that perspective. You can also go back to your basic charge windows there. Next up is factory navigation. And I mean, you can see there, straightforward. One cool thing, well, not just one cool thing, so many cool things with factory navigation is that you could use the trackpad and do a pinch to zoom this way. You can pinch to zoom on the screen there as well if you wanted to. You could zoom into certain spots if you want. It's actually kind of neat. You could search using your voice. So, hey Mercedes.
How can I help?
Navigate to Tim Hortons.
Here is what I found. Where do you want to go?
You've got different options there. You could then select any of these options.
Please proceed to the highlighted route.
When you've got it going here, if you have the option set up for your head-up display, it would show up in the head-up display. And then if we go into our navigation mode, actually even classic gives us that option. So we go there into our classic view instead. You've got your mapping cluster and it's showing you your turn-by-turn directions there as well. So very, very useful. If you're the type of person you don't like to look over your screen, you could look at the infotainment or the cluster screen in order to see your turn-by-turn directions along with your head-up display, which is extremely useful. You've got the option of muting out. So if you don't want to get your turn-by-turn directions, you can toggle it off.
Proceed to the highlighted route.
You could zoom in or out. You could change your view. So north, 3D view, whatever the case may be. Straightforward. And then along the top there, you can select in order to see the route. You could hit this icon there. If you wanted to see different routes, reroute based on traffic. If you wanted to avoid highways, toll roads, carpool lanes, and so many different options. You can change it the view. Do you want a satellite view instead of the regular street view that we're looking at there? Do you want to show weather, traffic, things like that? Nothing else exciting there. And then if you wanted to cancel the route, just hit that little X button and it cancels the route out. If you go back to search, you can see a few different options that we've searched. You could select any of the options that you've previously searched for, and it's going to reroute. You can see different routes available. So if there's a shorter, you can see that it's given us a few different route options. So if we go down, we can scroll across between all of the available routes. And then if you want to, just hit start.
Please proceed to the highlighted route.
And it's going to take you onto your route. You've got the option of also searching by GPS coordinates. So it's latitude first, longitude second if you wanted to go that route. Really useful. And back home, but that's the basics of using factory navigation. You can also set a home address there too. And the big benefit of doing that is that you could then say, okay, Mercedes, navigate home.
How can I help?
You can say navigate home, navigate to work, whatever the case may be, and it'll navigate to those previously saved addresses. From here, we've got adding in a phone. So as of right now, you can see that there are no phones that are connected. And in order to add a phone, we're just going to connect a device. You can see there, we've got one phone that's been connected previously. So let's just go through and delete that device for now. I'm going to start fresh. So let's go Bluetooth and we want to connect a new device. We're looking for that vehicle name and it's shown up there. So let's connect through. iPhone 14, perfect. PIN numbers match up. So we're going to pair. Do I want to allow contacts and favorites to sync up? This is not my car, so I'm going to say no to that one. But I'm fully connected right now. You can see contacts, recent calls, things like that. I said no to my contacts, so that's just not going to show up. You can see your dial pad, you can search and things like that as well. So it looks actually really nice. And then one even better thing, you've got wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto capabilities. So all you're going to do, use CarPlay, and it'll take a second here. Actually, you can see along the top, it's got CarPlay there. Boom. Should take a second. And one nice thing is that it is backwards compatible. So it is wireless if you want to go wireless, but you've also got the flexibility of going over a wired connection instead. So it's strictly going to be a USB Type-C connection inside of the ride. And you want to make sure that you've got a USB-C cable that also has a data transfer icon. So this obviously is a USB Type-A, but it needs to be a data transfer icon. Because if you don't, there's data transfer cables and then strictly charging cables. So if you're plugged in and it's not working, it's because you're using the wrong type of cable. But through Apple CarPlay, you can see we're fully connected. You've got your current time, connection, and battery levels, which map was open last, which audio application was open last, which miscellaneous application was open last. You can go to this little icon view instead. It's fairly responsive. If you had an active notification, so a calendar event happening today, that would also show up. But this screen, home screen here, cannot be configured out differently at all. So it's just the way that it is. So that's the way that it looks. But the icon view, you do have the flexibility of adjusting, but I'll show you that one in a second. Apple Maps inside of it is okay, no pinch to zoom capabilities, and it's the same with all the map applications like Google Maps, Apple Maps, and Waze. You can't do pinch to zoom in and out this way if you want to. You can hit the little gear icon for route options, so avoiding highways, toll roads, ferries, things like that. Change up your map colors, traffic, north up view. So it's straightforward. You can search for addresses that way if you want to. My favorite map application though is Waze, and there are so many reasons why. Like the big one though is that if we, hold on, let's zoom out for a second here. Let's go along the highway. So as we go, yeah, you can see there. So it started slowing down. People have notified that things are going a little slow. If there's traffic, if there are police, things like that, people are really good at marking off the map and giving other people a heads up of what's going on. Construction, you can do that as well. So you can mark off and let people know if there are cops pulling people over, if there's crashes, hazards, block lanes, and things like that. That's one of the reasons why I love using Waze. And then there are a ton of audio applications. If you wanted to listen to podcasts, you've got that flexibility. Music, if you've got Apple Music. Hoopla is a library app. So if you wanted to listen to audiobooks, Live One's a radio app. One thing though is through CarPlay, you can't do any sort of video playback. So it's strictly audio playback through CarPlay. But I mean, it's straightforward. You can hit the home icon to get out of CarPlay, push the CarPlay icon in order to get back into CarPlay as well. And then on your phone, if you go into Settings, General, and then CarPlay, find your vehicle, you can forget it, customize it, or toggle CarPlay off. If you're running into CarPlay connectivity issues, I put together a little walkthrough video you can find down in the description that explains some basic things that might be wrong and how to fix them. Now, before I show you this, one other thing is that you could do a push and hold on the voice command prompt in order to activate your Siri assistant. So a light press brings up the assistant for Mercedes, so the built-in assistant. A longer push and hold is going to bring up your phone assistant instead. But on your phone, if you hit customize, you can hit the little hamburger icon in order to adjust out your icons here. So if you wanted to have WhatsApp up there, if you wanted to have Waze along the top, you can do that. Anything with a minus arrow next to it, you can remove it. Completely gets rid of it from the screen, but it keeps it along the very bottom, so you could add it back in if you wanted to. But if you've played around with the layout too much, you don't like what you've done, on your phone, top right side, there's a reset button. So you're gonna hit reset, reset, and that's just gonna bring this back to the factory default layout instead. So it's so straightforward using this. You could get back to CarPlay this way on the home screen as well. You could also hit this little button if you wanted to be able to swap devices or disconnect from CarPlay. So you could just hook up over Bluetooth if you wanted to make phone calls. You could hook up if you wanted to stream audio or log back into CarPlay that way. You can disconnect, delete, and adjust your volumes as well. So straightforward, but that's how you set up iPhones inside of Mercedes vehicles. Setting up Android devices is the exact same process. So if you weren't on this screen, like let's say if you're back on the home screen, you're going to go back into this phone view. Swap. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. And you've got, again, the phone options here for the iPhone, but we want to connect a new device. And on your phone, all you're going to, there we go, found it in a second. So you're going to connect through to the device there. And then it's going to take a second. Do you want to pair up? PIN numbers match up. So I'm going to hit OK there. It's going to take a second to do its thing. There we go. And it's connected to the Galaxy. It's asking me, do I want to allow access to my contacts and messages? This is not my car, so I'm saying no. And then it auto-launched into Android Auto as well. So do you want to use Android Auto? Absolutely. So let's accept and start. And it'll take a second. Look at this. Connecting and connected. So you could reconnect to Apple CarPlay if you wanted to. I'm just going to exit out of that one there. And you're fully connected to Android Auto. So we've got this little split screen here if you wanted to go that route, but you can hit the map icon if you wanted to go full screen instead. You can search for addresses. You could hit this icon here if you wanted to. You could do things like, it's the exact same things what we saw on the iPhone side. Avoid highways, toll roads, ferries, things like that. Do you want to mute out notifications? You could see your different perspectives available there as well. You could also go satellite view. You could do this on the iPhone side of things if you prefer to go that route. So it's just going to be a matter of preference on how you want this to look. Straightforward. You could zoom in and out this way. You've got a few different icons along the side. You've got your Google Assistant that you can activate that way. Or You can do a long button push and hold again on the steering wheel in order to activate your phone assistant that way instead. You can hit this little icon if you wanted to get back to this split view, or this little icon view instead. Now, this phone obviously does have Waze installed, but if you've got Waze installed on your Android device and it's not showing up, check down in the description of this video for a walkthrough on how to reconnect or actually use Waze inside of Android Auto. Straightforward though. Now you could hit this button in order to jump back into the home screen. You can hit the home button there, down the center stack. So there's so many ways to do it. Launch back into Android Auto along the top there if you want to. And then on your phone, on the Android side, if you hit or you search for Android Auto, go to your Android Auto settings. You've got a few different options that are available. So you've got a ton of different things, but you could also customize the launcher. So if you wanted to add different things in, you've got the flexibility. Same idea. We're going to hit the little hamburger icon to drag things around, customize it in order to make it your own. If you want to, but it's not dynamic. So you can see here, it's not actually updating. So in order for the updates to come into effect, what you have to do, hop back into the home screen. If you go into your phone mode there, let's go into our phones along the top, swapping phones out. What we're going to do is, there we go to this phone swap mode. And you can see there, connected to the Galaxy for Android Auto. So you're just going to disconnect for a second. You're going to reconnect to Android Auto. It's going to restart. And if we go back into our little icon view, you can see that the changes that we've made have now come into effect. So it's that straightforward, being able to customize the screen inside of Android Auto. And you could use the little assistant down the bottom there if you wanted to be able to scroll back through. So if you wanted to scroll through Android Auto, you could use the little rocker there to do it. It's going to be a matter of preference. And then hopping back home for a second, you could hop into your phone, swap phones, and you can see there, you can be connected to either Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, not both, but you could do a mix and match here. So let's say if you wanted to have one phone connected, there we go. So if you wanted to have one phone connected for phone calls, one phone connected for media, you can do that. So you can do a mix and match of any of these four. It's like I said, either Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, not both, but you can do a mix and match this way instead. You can connect more devices, or in order to delete, you're just going to select any of the devices. So that 3 button there, disconnect or delete. And let's delete that. Let's do the same thing on the iPhone and delete. And yes, and there we go. And it's that easy setting up Android and iPhone devices inside of Mercedes vehicles. And hopping back home, that's using phones. It's straightforward. Media, you've got radio. So you've got AM, FM, SiriusXM, whatever the case may be. And then you've got your favorites. So those are all of your presets that you've saved. If we go into, let's actually go SiriusXM for a second. Actually, either AM, FM, SiriusXM, whatever the case may be. All right, so you've got all of your stations that are available there. So we're on the Beatles channel right now. Let's just mute out for a second here. Don't want to get copyright struck, but you've got that available. You've got the option of searching. You could hit this in order to see categories. So all of your channel views, categories, features, things like that. You could mute out or adjust your volume this way. And then from there, once this goes away, you've got this icon, which is going to pull up a few other options available as well. So you've got all of your basic SiriusXM settings. And back, you can hit this icon in order to, same idea, get back into some additional settings. If you're on FM, AM, whatever the case may be, it's going to work roughly the same way anyways across the board. So you could easily swipe through in order to get to different stations. You can use your voice. Hey, Mercedes.
How may I help you?
Tune to 97.7 FM. You can see there, you've adjusted it out. So it's straightforward being able to do it. You can hit there in order to go full screen and then back out.
How can I help you?
It's straightforward using this system. I like it. You can jump down if you wanted to be able to search. You can turn your HD radio data on as well. Display lyrics if they're available. Hit this icon in order to get to FM information for HD radio, extended slideshow, radio text information. So if artist and song information is available, it would show up. HD radio, if it's available, not every station does it, but it broadcasts it digitally, which just means that you're able to get more stations. So if the HD radio station is available, when you get to an HD radio station, it would show up. So it's just going to be clearer audio in comparison to traditional band waves instead. I think 97.7 broadcast digitally there as well, but it's straightforward doing it. You can hit the little star icon and you can see there, it's saved it as a favorite. So now if we go back into favorites, you've got all of your stations that you've previously saved. You could hit there if you wanted to delete it as a station, like as a preset instead. But I mean, it's so easy to be able to use this system. You've got tuned it in radio, so AM, FM, etc. Your favorites you saw there are a mix of AM, FM, SiriusXM, so you've got different options available there. Hopping back out, you've got your radio options, so you can mute out audio, go back into all of your audio settings there again. You scroll back home, you've got media that's available now as well. So media, you've got Bluetooth, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, whatever the case may be, online music, and then USB. So it's strictly USB Type-C, but if you have a USB Type-C device, all you're going to do, plug her in, and let's go to USB for a second here, waiting for playback, and you've got all of your available songs, and you could also adjust it out through the middle there as well. It's, like I said, really straightforward using this system. You could search your USB stick if you wanted to. You could see all of the different songs that are available. Hopping back, gives you so many options. It's so straightforward using this system. You could do a shuffle if you want to, repeat, whatever the case may be. Hopping back into the settings here, you've got your sound options. So do you want a 3D sound, so immersive audio experience? You can adjust other things out for your sound settings. There's like so many things that you can do with this vehicle here. Actually, I guess the big one, useful one. So if you go to your settings, you've got your equalizer, so you can adjust your treble, mid-range, and bass. Bass, I usually recommend up by like 2 or 3 points. Mid on this one is down 1, treble down 2. Something like that, in my opinion, gives really good audio, but that one is going to be a matter of preference. So what I recommend is going through the screen and playing audio and then just adjusting these out in order to find something that works well for your ears. You can adjust the balance and fade, so if you wanted to make it more focused on the driver, passengers, people in the back, you can adjust it this way, or just hit back there in order to adjust it this way instead. That's the basics of media. There are a series of different apps that are available that you can download. So you've got weather, browser, title, Spotify. So you could, if you wanted to, go into your browser. Oh, no data package. Okay. So if you had a wireless hotspot enabled, then you'd be able to look through a browser that way instead. You've got Spotify that's available, Amazon Music, Apple Music, things like that. And then you saw earlier connecting through Android or iPhone devices to use apps that way. That's probably going to be your best bet anyways. Store, in order to download certain things, a series of comfort settings. So you've got massage chair seat capabilities. So you've got a few different massage options that are available for the driver passenger side. Do you want it to be intense as well as you go? You can have workout massages. There are hot massages for shoulders, back, etc. You could also adjust your seats. So your seat kinetics are available in order to really kind of help you balance as you go. Lumbar support is available, and you can adjust your lumbar for the driver passenger, again, to make it more comfortable for you. Your side seat bolsters, you can set those up. But one cool thing is that in certain Mercedes vehicles is that with the side bolsters, as you go and make aggressive turns, well, not even aggressive, but turns left, right, whatever the case may be, going around roundabouts, you'll notice that the side bolsters fill up with air and it makes it even more comfortable. It hugs the body. But you can set these up, something more comfortable for you. You've got your multi-contour massage seat with different levels, heating settings. This one's cool. So you've got your heating balance. Do you want it to be more focused on the upper or the lower portion of the seat, etc.? So you can really adjust that and customize it to make it your own. But you've got additional surface heating where you can toggle on so that the armrest in the middle and then the armrest along the door is turned on or off for the driver and for the passenger side as well. It is really, really cool. And back from there, automatic seating position, so it can adjust based off of the flies, so based off of your height. If you wanted to enter your height in there, the seat's going to automatically adjust for the best position for you specifically. And then you can reset. You've got ambient light that's available as well, so you can adjust the color out with either monochromatic, so a single color, or multicolor. And the multicolor, like even the monochromatic, it looks so good later on at night. You can adjust out the brightness if you want to. You can link the driver passenger side, whatever the case may be. Back out. You can have effects. So as you walk up to the door, do you want multicolored animations? Things like that. You've got some hot button presses there in order to get to a few different options as well. You've got AMG performance modes. You've got your energy flow, hybrid specific for this one. So as you drive, you can see that the drivetrain is getting power from that rear motor, so rear mounted motor. So it's 150 kilowatt rear mounted motor. There's drive that's available as well. So you can see the current horsepower and torque usage that you're using. You can shoot across to see the battery amperage that you're using, whatever the case may be. Go into some additional vehicle settings for your suspension system. So as you even jump between your different modes there, so you go into sport mode, etc. So let's hop back here. You can see all of your different suspension levels that way. It's really neat. You can see your PSI as you start to drive. You can see the engine torque, horsepower, things like that you're actively using. It is really, really cool. Consumption levels and things. Actually, that's really neat. Love that. So you've got your timers, so lap timers as available, and then your overall consumption level as well. I'll show you that switch that I'm running through in just a second here. Actually, will I be able to go? Okay, yeah, so I've got to charge up. I can't use the electric only mode right now, which makes sense. But you've got a series of different performance options available. You can hot button press to get into some other options there. Track pace is available. So if you're on a track, you could also look at your drag race if you wanted to. You could see all of your different timers for quarter miles and things like that. There are a boatload of different settings that are available here too. There are a series of driver assistance settings that are available. So if you wanted the vehicle to help out with speed adoption, so what that means is that if the vehicle recognizes that you're going around a bend, it'll slow you down if you've got the cruise control system on. And then from there, if the speed goes from, let's say 100 to 80, it's automatically going to slow you down. 80 to 100, it can automatically pick you back up to your set speed again, or pick you up to a higher speed as well. Lane change assist is kind of neat. So you hit the turn stalk to go left or right, and the vehicle is automatically going to change lanes for you. Takes a couple seconds to do it, but it's really neat at the same time. Collision avoidance, there's a blind spot system. So the side view mirrors are going to highlight if somebody enters the blind spot on either side of the vehicle. If there's a potential collision, it can actively brake for you. Traffic sign assist. Do you want to get speed limit warnings? Yay or nay? Visual, audible, whatever the case may be. Let's just toggle that one off because that's not overly exciting. Attention assist. If you start to veer over too many times with that signaling, eventually you're going to get a message in your cluster screen telling you that you should probably take a break. Options for your camera, nothing exciting there. Parking, for your tones and things like that. So with your warning tones, so that's the beeping that you get as you get closer to obstacles. So do you want that showing up, yay or nay? You can really customize these and make it your own. Right, and vehicle settings, dynamic select, selected drive program. So you can get to it that way. That's probably the more difficult way in order to adjust what drive program you're using. There's a button down the center stack here you can utilize in order to move between all of your active modes there as well. But you can also utilize this little toggle on the steering wheel. So you could button push that little button in order to get to a regen braking mode for electric. But you can also adjust what mode you're in here instead. So you can get to it a couple different ways. The way that we just did it through the infotainment system is the more challenging one, but you can also have it request what mode you want to be in when you go to start the vehicle up. When you're in, so this one here is your individual mode. What do you want it set to? So that's essentially like your default mode. You've got options like for your dynamics, for your suspension. Do you want things to be stiff, like in sport mode, or comfort for more of a relaxed feel? How do you want the vehicle to sound as well on the inside? It's kind of neat. Your driving options, nothing exciting there. Comfort, easy entry, exit, with these turned on. So with your seat, when you go to turn the vehicle off, if with the seat position, it's going to lower and back up for you to get in and out easier. Steering wheel position, same idea. It can push the steering wheel forward, and then when you go to start the vehicle, it's going to bring it back to your perfectly set positions instead. But one cool thing, you also do have seat memory. So once you have the driver's seat set up the way that you'd like to, you've got your steering wheel set the way that you'd like, and your side view mirrors, all you're going to do, you've got your memory options there. So M1, 2, 3, whatever the case may be, in order for it to remember up to 3 unique profiles inside of the ride. It's pretty neat. But yeah, with the easy entry exit position seats, it makes getting in and out a little bit easier. Occupant, nothing exciting there. Open and close. Do you want your doors to automatically lock? Yes. Do you want your mirrors to automatically fold when you go to lock the vehicle? Light information, multi-beam. Oh, the multi-beam LEDs. It looks so good at night, but you've got your dynamic low beams. There's a nice little startup dance that the lights do when they're first turned on as well. Interior lighting, nothing. Oh, exterior light switch. When you go to lock the vehicle, do the lamps just turn off or do they stay on for up to 60 seconds? That one's going to be a matter of preference, just depending on how far away your home is from where you park your vehicle. And then, other exterior lighting. There's also, you can see there, the matte light as you go to approach the vehicle. So you go to touch the door handle, and there's a nice welcome mat that shows up. It's really, really cool. And then ambient light, which we saw earlier. So you'll notice that a few of these settings you can get to a few different ways. Your voice assistant, or you've got the flexibility of saying, "Hey Mercedes," haha, turned it off. But you can have it set up so that shows up, yay or nay. Direct commands, and this has an artificial intelligence system built in, so it gets smarter the more you use it. You can give different commands as well. There's different voice controls, things like that. Suggestions, nothing exciting there. Displays, you can adjust the brightness. So if you want the display brighter for at nighttime, you could. You could toggle the display off or turn the whole system off instead. Measurement units, also a useful one. So you can go either kilometers or miles, and you can see there, it adjusts out what's going on inside of the cluster screen. So we go from a maximum 360 kilometers an hour to 220 instead. So they're very useful if you're going cross-border. And then you've got your additional speedometer there. So do you want to show in this mode? You can see that it jumps between miles, kilometers, whatever the case may be. Language, do you want to be in either Dutch, English, Spanish, French, Italian, Portuguese? There are so many different language options available, which are going to be region specific. Control different things, nothing exciting. Well, touch control actually is kind of neat. So you've got your steering wheel buttons there. So the buttons along the side is actually kind of neat because you could, again, I don't know why they have this in that position, because on the steering wheel, you could button push in order to jump between all of these options here instead. So you can have one go to dynamics, the other one go to a few different modes as well. So do you want, it's, again, not like the best setup there, the way that they've got it through the screen as well, but you could adjust it this way. But yeah, it's way easier just pushing the button in the actual screen, or the steering wheel button itself in order to adjust them. Let's see, from here, acoustic feedback. When you touch, do you get much of a feedback push there? Touch control, do you want it to be faster? Actually, faster or slower if we go faster? Oh yeah, there we go. That's better. So way more sensitive on the trackpad now by going that way. So we want to make sure, go touch on high. Haptic feedback is kind of neat. Sensitivity for the pad, same idea. Do you want fast, medium, or slow for the feedback there? And, ooh, I don't think I was quite done. Audio. Let's see, greeting when you first get into the vehicle, Parktronic for your sensing system, so that beeping that you get, do you want that high, low, etc.? What options, or what level do you want your phone calls to be at, your voice, entertainment, all of your track options and things like that? Internet and Bluetooth, you do have a Wi-Fi hotspot available. It requires an active data plan. Data protection, so if you wanted to, you could lock the screen out. So you set a pin and then people just can't look through the screen. So it's essentially turned it into like a valet mode instead. Very useful if you use valet driver or even just for general safety. Time zone. This is a useful one because if you live somewhere where you straddle a time zone, you can select which time zone you want to be in instead. You can do a software update. There's devices, the previous devices that you've connected. And then, so mentioned, so you've got your little touchpad here if you wanted to pull up your 360 camera, your phone, whatever the case may be. So there's a little touchpad here. You've got your other touchpad and all of your dynamic buttons along the side. If you want to walk through though the steering wheel cluster and things like that, you'll find it down in the description. But that's everything that you need to know about the infotainment system inside of Mercedes vehicles.